So we're going to break down this hunt. It's a morning where Tyler and I are both in the tree in Kansas on different properties. I'm on a private permission place, and he's on a public place. And it's just a ton of buck action. The day before, I had an encounter with a huge 8-point. I think you shot at a deer after getting kicked out of a stand.
Yeah.
It was like crazy day. And this just plays into just continuing on with that action. So let's just watch. So what? This is you. What deer is that? What's going
on? There's 2 bucks there, and I think there was 2 or 3 shooters out in this area. There was a doe that was locked down, and they were acting. Obviously they look kind of blown up a little bit there, and kind of like they're ready to go. I think this deer right here is actually a busted up 10-point we've seen the last 2 years. This year as well. But this was obviously 2019. And anyway, he's a big buck, and he's a big dominant buck, but he kind of has little thin horns, so he breaks them a lot. But here we are, you're on permission.
Casey's doing an interview. I forget that this deer is actually a 9 because he has that little bitty kicker thing right there. He's giant. And we actually hunted him in 2020 as well, never saw him because we didn't spend as much time there. There wasn't as much daylight activity. Mm-hmm. And then,
is that corn?
Normal Kansas stuff. Yeah, there was like strips of it out there that year. It wasn't as crazy. But those deer just like to run around out there in that corn. It's weird how like you can hear highway noise and these deer just hang out in the open because it's just not that pressured.
They know also where they can kind of be seen and not be, and where different humans are at.
I can see 2 shooter bucks out there in the CRP.
By the way, that's no longer our Instagram handle.
What did it say? The Element Podcast?
Oh, wait. No, that one is. Yeah, we had some old ones from, I think, 2009 where it says at the Element Podcast.
This little guy.
What is happening here?
So I have a corn pile at 50 yards. Never make the mistake of putting your corn pile at the very, very furthest range that you can shoot. The idea was to shoot deer moving to corn and not really hunt them right over the corn, but what ends up happening is you just wish that you could shoot them. And not this guy, but his dad for sure.
Trophy spike, though.
He is. Man, I saw some bucks that morning.
Yeah.
This guy's pretty
close.
Yeah, he's like 12 yards away. So he probably passed the deer we're fixing to see. Like, they walked by each other. And if... just pay attention to where that deer walks. I'm on a tree line, and that deer's walking kind of out in the brush. And we don't want to show you
it's
what's
a cool picture. There's some landscape that we're using a deer to show. Let's see.
171.
Yeah.
This is a giant. And
he's so brown.
I don't recognize how big he is.
Apparently, this is one of the shooters you were seeing, though.
Yeah, I believe it.
He's a shooter until he got closer.
Well, I never passed this deer by any means. I wouldn't pass him, but I didn't ever get really excited.
Yeah. Did we ever decide if we saw that deer this year on camera? I don't know if we did either.
I don't know if we did.
He's kind of got a really high rack kind of look and kind of distinct.
He's kind of got tight brow tines too. They're pretty close together.
Man, he's a good looking.
He is.
Just muscled up.
I think if you were sitting down there at that end down there where we sat a couple times.
Man. That's what's been hard about this property is like, it feels like every time we go to sit a different tree, they went where we were the time before.
So back to Tyler.
Yeah, so now I'm rattling because I see one of these bucks as a shooter. Like I said, I'm hunting public, and one of these bucks is a big 10, like a heavy 10.
To the west, which means it's been up.
You have a bloody arrow in your quiver.
I shot a deer in Texas not long before this.
Oh, right before this trip.
Yeah.
That's right.
CRP. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that.
We'll put that link in the description below. 2019 Southern Clan Texas buck.
Get him to stand up. I guess I just can't be loud enough. He's far enough away.
I think they could hear me. I just think they were so amped up on each other, you know. Now we're back with KC.
I had just stood up to use the bathroom, and I was peeing whenever I saw this deer. And there's a chance that he saw me, like,
I saw you streaming.
peeing, yeah. And he just took this trail, but he doesn't ever act very spooked. He just took that trail over there that's at like 55 yards.
Just rack.
I grunted at him and he didn't have anything to say about it. This is cool. Watch. Oh, that was cool.
That is.
Shadow on that stump.
Dang, I should do something with that, man. That needs to be on a highlight. There he is. Woo.
It's giant.
Look at the toad body, man.
Yeah. It's a big buck.
He is corn fed.
You can see that he's related to that other deer.
He's got big old heavy bases, man. Like, that's just such a good buck.
That's 50 yards, and it's dead still that morning. And I was thinking about it real hard.
Look at how much, how big the chest is. And look at the steam coming out.
He was probably smelling me right there because it was just light and variable. But with thermals, I think most of the scent was just rising, and it just kind of, there's a little bit around there. But he slightly quartered 2, which isn't a great shot angle, which probably helped me make a good decision about not shooting at him.
What a tank, man.
Yeah.
He's square all the way through.
And he's just eating corn, being happy. Not even worried about it. And it's after this day that we decide that we need to make another stand location at this property.
How old do you guys think this deer is? Comment below. I'd like to know what the consensus is because, to me, there's a lot of things about him that say 4, but then he's just so thick all the way through, and you're like, man, is he older? I don't know. It's deer. That's what's cool about deer, man, is they're just all different, love hunting turkeys, but there's a lot more uniqueness in a deer, I feel like, than a turkey.
I would still say 4. I mean, this is a weird place where we try to have history with deer, but it doesn't ever completely line up because they're just pretty migrant up there. So he doesn't care.
He's like,
wait a minute.
You got something?
And I was kind of scared to crank on it there because it's so still.
He's got good beams. They go way up and way back. It's the hardest part, man, in this, because when you grunt there, it's like they already kind of know where the deer are at around them a lot of times.
There's a bunch of cover between me and him, and I was sending that grunt kind of behind me, hoping that he thinks there's a deer in the pasture.
On a quiet day, though, you think,
yeah.
I bet you he's like, I don't hear any footsteps over there.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear that backup beeper, and that's over a mile away where that's going. So, it's pretty far. I just wonder, in this situation, could I snort wheezed, and what would this deer have done?
Right. Right.
I mean, he's definitely confident. He just moseyed his way into a corn pile and didn't think too much of it. So it's like, what would he?
Man, that footage is so cool though. I love all the birds and everything.
That's gonna that here do it for me.
That mushroom head.
Terrible. But it's gonna be doing it for me here.
Yeah, we had to leave early today.
It was Wednesday. I had to go be back to teach that night.
It was the end of our rut vacation, basically, and it was 9 o'clock. We decided to text each other, you about ready? He's like, I guess so.
I think we were in different vehicles. Yeah, we were, because you met me up there.
Yeah, we were going to go back, though. We were going to meet before we left and take care of a few things. What happened here?
I saw this deer up on the highway.
Okay.
Headed back to camp.
That's a good buck.
Yeah. Also thought it was not that big of a deal. So yeah, it's a little buck. And then you look at him in footage and you're like, man, that's a pretty good deer. I think he's probably a 3-year-old, but he's a good deer.
He's got some good length.
Yeah. And then you're still just seeing the action over there.
Yeah, dude. This is that 10-point that's the thin antler. He's kind of the dominant buck though in this little circle. And he's got a doe bedded out there. I mean, you can see he's pretty thick. He just didn't have much for a rack, but he's all about.
Is this that kind of thin antlered deer? He breaks off a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's what happened this year too.
And then he has a young buck come in and kind of get after him, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's this is a big 10 right here that he's about to fight. See, the ears are back, and they start getting after it.
So how much pushing are they doing? It looks like they're not doing much
I
down
don't
there.
think they're doing a bunch yet. Here as they start getting right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they're mad. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, dude. And so the smaller racked buck.
Look at this little guy. He's like, what am I gonna do?
He actually beats the bigger racked buck, the one I was wanting to shoot. So I was like, hey, I can get this deer over here. I've been rattling so much and as hard as I can. It's like, I think it's like 1 degree this morning or something.
Yeah.
It was
freezing cold.
Stupid cold. So, hitting those antlers together was hurting my hands. I was like cupping my hands trying to throw snort wheezes out as far as I could.
Where these deer are is kind of the backside of a little rise, and it's just a little hidden spot. It's wide open, but they can't see the highway.
Yeah.
A lot of deer, a lot of fun.
So we had texted.
Some
We're
sits
done
that weren't so
here.
much fun. Had a great time. Saw a lot of cold weather. Some cool action this morning. Those deer kind of worked off to the south and west after the frenzy started, and the doe didn't like it much. And I was just hoping she'd come over here, even though it was a kind of a long chance. But anyway, they moved off, and now I have got to get back, clean up, and organize.
You just
head
looked a
back to
little
Texas.
longer whenever you were listening
Got
to
to see
Steve.
my family. It's been a ragged.
I hear
long
something
road
here.
to this final day of revocation, but man,
Is that why you looked over right there?
really got to experience some beautiful creation and see some cool things and learn a lot. That's for sure. So, anyway, I guess there's a buck right there. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so sick, dude.
I remember this interview. You were like trying to be positive, and then this happens, and you're like, "Here, come on." Oh, it's a good deer.
Oh, what a toad.
You just see there's mass and tines involved with that right there.
So this is actually a couple minutes later. Of course, everything's put up pretty much, so I had to get everything out in the dead calm 1 degree temps here. And I'm trying to call this buck. I don't want him to see me or hear me, so it takes a second. Well, he gets back over here where you can see my camera flip to, and before I can get called to him, and downwind is only 60 degrees off, so it's easy for him to get downwind. I couldn't get my grunt call out quick enough to get him before he got to my wind.
I hope I got some footage of that buck. Has a really heavy 8-point.
10.2 actually. So. Yep.
No TV.
It's just. I tried to be positive in this final interview, but that's kind of just a cherry on top of the
Oh,
cherry.
so that's a buck that we stalked on the first day.
We've been so
We'll do a video of
Should have
that.
killed him.
Oh, we were so close.
Yeah, I got it done in Texas.
Doe messed it up.
But, this Kansas
John
trip is
ate.
just Close call after close
Not
call.
before.
Oh.
Like this.
Ugh.
I should have killed that deer.
You shot at that deer, didn't you? That night.
Beat the
Yep.
ground.
He's a good buck.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like the deer that I saw from the road, or the
Yeah, it
or
does.
the deer that you just saw
Mhm.
from the stand.
Stuff like this is gonna happen, but he was 40 yards right there.
Giant 9-point.
How many big deer did we see on this trip,
Oh
dude?
my goodness.
This is a good year.
On the wrong side.
We didn't have any trips like that this year where we're just like,
Opposite side.
for days and days and days,
No.
monster bucks.
Well, in Texas we did pretty good.
That's true. We did
Yeah.
have one day in Texas that was super good.
Uh-huh.
And we've had a couple days that were good days.
Yeah.
It's just not
But
Anyway.
Kansas, hot. Anyway.
So that's yeah, that's kind of the wrap right there. I mean, basically, this is a hard lesson, but it's really like I had been out of pocket for I think almost 10 days on this particular trip. So like you have to end someday. Like there has to be a time when you go, okay, I'm going back this day.
Mhm.
Can't last any longer. And this was just happened to be the day where we were like, okay, we got to go back this morning. Let's meet up about get out of the stand about 9. So we end up texting. I do a interview, and as I'm interviewing, I literally heard it too during the interview. You can hear a stick break, and I look up, and that deer is at like 40 yards, and just didn't get it done, And I probably would have sent an arrow at that point, if I'd have seen him coming and seen him getting this little gap right here at 40 yards, and had a good calm shot at him. But he was definitely on the move, and I think that's the key is that like on early early November day that's very cold, stay in the stand a while.
For a long time, yeah. Bring an extra set of Pop-Tarts, right?
I was just
but
gonna
like,
say it.
I think honestly, looking back, we left at a bad time. Like it was getting going.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, and we got there at a good time too. It's just you need to spend more time.
Was this the day we pulled the stand and like before we left?
Yeah, we get no footage of that.
It was like almost 11 o'clock, and we saw a mature buck like just in the middle of the daylight, 7 yards from the road, coming towards one of our stands.
Yeah, it was rocking and rolling. So I guess the big takeaway is like if you can be flexible with your schedule and it's going down, don't let any extra thing outside of your hunt, you know, keep you from accomplishing your goal. Because honestly, this is a great talking point for you who are married or have other things. It's like, give me 2 more days here, and I don't have to take another week in 2 weeks. You know? And that was the story of my life for this year. Like throughout 2019, I spent a bunch of 3 and 4 day trips heading up to Kansas, bunch of them, and still never killed a buck.
Yeah,
I shot a buck,
and
lost him to coyotes. But that's a much later deal. But
there will be several
man.
videos from this this hunt. So as we release those, we'll try to drop the link in the description. And so if you're interested in seeing any of the other bucks that we had encounters with and learning maybe from us what we should have done better, check those out in the description below. And remember, this is your element.
Live in it.